Hey everybody, we are going to be doing a V-split tumbler with tooled leather, and we're going to do it two different ways. We're going to do one with a complete water slide wrap, and then we're going to do one and do it step by step. We're going to do our cowhide separate, we're going to do the tooled leather separate, and we're going to do the glitter separate on one of them that we do. So I'm going to turn you down and we're going to get started, and I will see if I can get you pulled up on my computer as usual so I can make sure everything's lined up. And please know that I do not answer questions when I'm doing a live. I will go back after the live's over and I'll answer the questions either tonight or I'll do them sometime tomorrow. So any questions you've got, please leave them in the comments. So I'm going to turn you down and then I'm going to hold up. So give me just a minute. We know there's always a delay, but we'll see if it works tonight. Maybe it will. Give us just a minute. I don't see it yet. See what happens. See if we can pull it up that way. Yeah, I think we got it that way. Let me turn the volume down so we won't have that in the way. Okay. All right. Looks like it may be pausing. Let me see. Well, it's not here. Okay. To start with, we're going to do, I did 2 cups and prepped them the same way. I take the top and the bottom. Then I sanded and then I cleaned them, and then I sprayed both of them white. And one we're going to do with a complete water slide wrap, and I'm not sure if it's going to fit. I made it the same size as I made the one for our albino mermaid, but when I wrap it around it, it looks like it may be just a little bit small. And if it is, if it turns out to be too small, then I will go back and print another one and put one on there. But we're going to go ahead and try this one tonight and see how it does. So this is the first one that we're going to do. So let's get us some warm water in here. I always put warm water in mine. And we'll get it in here and let it soak for just a little bit. Then we'll be ready to go. Hope everybody's had a good day and had a good weekend. I've got 6 cups turning and about 10 pins turning and working on these 2, so I've been busy today. Tomorrow I'll be working with my son, so I won't get a lot done as far as cups here tomorrow. Usually I try to do my designing when I'm helping him because I sit at the front desk and I have time to work on that sometimes, so we'll see how that goes. Let's get this turning loose. Give it just a minute, and of course we'll want to wet our cup when we get it out here. So, but this is a beautiful, beautiful water slide, I think. And I know y'all have seen the one going around that I think it's a sublimation tumbler, and several people have been making one similar to it or their version of it, just like I'm going to be making my version of it. Let me get this away from my tumblers. So now we'll get this started, and I'm going to lay it on my tumbler, and I'm going to try to get it hopefully to where it'll be where it's supposed to be, so I won't have to move it around an awful lot after we get it on here. But I did trim it right up to the lines, but it still, when I wrapped it, it looked like it was going to be just a little bit like maybe about 1/8 of an inch meeting when it wraps. So we'll see how it does. I'm moving it up just a little bit because I want the top to be straight. The bottom's not going to really matter with the design that's on it. So, and I'm going to keep water on it that we can keep it from wrinkling up and messing up. Oh. Moving it up a little bit more. That's not where I want it, y'all. I'm going to keep messing with it just a little bit more. I want this up just a little bit more up here at the top. There we go. And when I do mine, I put 2 really good coats of the Rust-Oleum 2X clear. Let it dry in between each coat. And then I go back and I put a really good coat of the Plastidip. Make sure you get the clear on it. And then after that dries, then I go back and put another really good coat of the 2X Rust-Oleum. And this seems like it's drawing up instead of stretching out. So I may have to just cut this whole thing over, y'all. But I know when I wrapped it, it seemed like it was going to be just a little bit too small as far as going around. But now from top to bottom, it looked like it fit. Spritz some more water in here so it'll slide a little bit better. But when you do it with the Rust-Oleum and the Plastidip, it makes it really durable. I was hoping maybe I could get it to push together enough that it would fit, but I don't think it is. It's going to be off just like I thought it was. Let me get rid of this page. Get that out of here. We'll go back and lay that in here and get it wet again and see if we can make it fit a little bit better maybe. And I'm thinking, y'all, so that's the reason I'm not talking much right now. And remember, I don't answer any questions while I'm doing the live. I will go back and answer them after the live's over. You get that under there. I've never had one do like this. It don't want to move. It don't want to cooperate. Usually I don't have any problems with water slides. But I know I'm going to have to cut it over simply because it's not wide enough. Like it's about not quite an eighth of an inch or so meeting around it, but I wanted us to get it on here so we could sort of see what it's going to look like, but it don't want to work. And this is a straight skinny tumbler, and the design I bought was supposed to be for a straight skinny, so we just may have to go back to the drawing board, and that's okay too. But at least we can see it's gonna be a really pretty tumbler. Now maybe it's gonna start falling in place a little bit better so we can at least see what it's gonna look like. But this will give us an idea anyway of what it's going to look like, and I will reprint it, make it just a little bit larger. That's bum fuzzling to me. But this will at least give you an idea of what it's going to look like until I can get one that fits just a little bit better. Need to make it, I think, just a hair longer and wider. Oh well, you can see right in there. And when this is going to have 3 parts, so what I'll do when we do part 2, this one is just going to take very little to do it. The other one is what's going to take more 3 parts. So we'll go back and we'll cut this just a little bit wider, and then we'll cut it just a little bit longer. It's just a hair shorter than I would like it right down there too. Of course, now I could, if it fit this way, I would go in with alcohol inks and a brush and just work on that and make it work. But since it's not wide enough around, it meets real good. But as you can see, it likes just about an eighth of an inch or so meeting. That's crazy on a straight tumbler why it's doing that. I don't know. But anyway, that's what we're going to do, and I will go back and reprint it, and we'll put it together then when we do part 2 of the other one, and then that way, then on part 3, this one will have the epoxy on it, and we'll go from there. But that way you can sort of see what it looks like. And it did smooth out pretty good once I got it going. So anyway, that's that one. I'm going to go ahead and take it off though, because I don't want it to stick, and you have to work with it to get it off. So we'll get that out of the way. I'll move this water over here out of the way. Now we'll get this one, and we're going to do alcohol inks on what we're going to do first. I did it the same way. I prepped it, and I cut 2 V's, and the reason I cut 2, one is just a plain V, and this one's going to be our tooled leather that we're going to do tonight. And we're going to do the tooled leather, and then I'll put epoxy on it. And then I'll put this V on top of the tooled leather once I epoxy it. And then I'll spray paint the cup again. And then we'll do the cowhide around the bottom. And then we're going to do glitter around the top. And the cowhide, I'm going to do it with alcohol ink. And I'm going to use the Black Bear Glitters Don't Be Salty. And use the alcohol ink to make the cowhide on it. So we'll do it just a little bit different. And see how many ways we can figure out how to do it. So let's get this started, make sure it fits. I don't want my V all the way to the bottom. I want it almost to the bottom, but not all the way. And then we want to make sure we get one side straight so we can tape it, and then the other side we'll pull it. And get them straight in the back. And I know most of you have seen one similar to this going around the internet. I've seen several people do them, and I saw that it was a sublimation tumbler. So I don't do sublimation. I ain't got the printer or anything that I need to do it. I've got an oven that I use for other stuff, but I don't have the sublimation printer. Of course, you can order the sublimation prints if you have an oven and do it that way. What I'm doing now, I'm trying to make sure I can get the V in the back to match up. And I want to tape it that way so that then it will sort of stay in place. Okay. That's got it pretty well matched back here. And I'm going to tape it here. And then I'm going to tape it in one spot right here till we get it started. And I want to make sure all of it's sticking, because I don't want my parts to pull up till I get ready to pull them up. Trim this back. Now what I'm doing is pulling the tape back off. And then we're going to go in and lay this back down to where we cut the tape. Some of my pieces are trying to peel up, so you have to be real careful and look at it close as you're peeling it up, making sure they're not coming up. There's so many little pieces when you do a tooled leather. Now as I've got that pulled up, I'm going back in and laying down that part, as you can see. And then we're pulling a little more, laying that down. And I did mark my V's so I'd know which one was plain and which one was cut for the tooled leather. Now I'm pushing down just a little at a time. Okay, now we've got that on there. And I'm holding it close to my cup as I'm pulling it off. Okay. Now, throw that away and get that out of our way. And then I'm going to trim this right here. Get that out of the way. My X-Acto knife's not real sharp, so it's not cutting real good tonight. Okay. Now, we're going to go in. Let me get my weeding tool. Now, I'm going to go in and I can just barely see my design. So, I have to look really close. And then what we'll do once I get the tooled leather done, like I said, we'll put epoxy on it, and then we'll go back and we'll tape off the V. And once we tape off the V, then we'll go back and do the cowhide and do the glitter. And this one shouldn't take too long for me to get it pulled off. I didn't want to do a lot of it because I wanted you to be able to see me wrap it. And this one, I tried a different design than what I've got here, and I couldn't get it to cooperate. So I had to go back to the drawing board and do one a little bit different than what I actually had planned. And this is real hard to see without getting real close to it. I should have done my decal in another color, and that would have really made it easier to see. So remember that if you do one and you're doing it on white, to do your decal for your tooled leather in a different color. take much longer, y'all. And then we'll be doing the dye on it. Take just a little bit longer. And we're just about done. Let me see if that's got it. Give me just a minute to take a look at it. I have to get it up where I can see it. Okay. That looks like we got it. So now we can do our alcohol ink on it. Let me get some of this sticky out of the way because I don't want it sticking back to it. Little bitty pieces just stick on everything. Okay, I think I'm going to start with the latte. And that may be all that I use, but we'll see. Put you on some gloves. Okay. And I think what I may do is get me a, put some of this ink in this little cup and do that rather than like I usually do, since I don't want it all over the cup. And remember, when you do the tooled leather, you have to go back and put several coats on it. But just get you a good coat on there to begin with. Excuse me. Now the tumbler is a 20 ounce straight skinny from Southern Palmetto stainless steel tumblers. And the alcohol ink is from Black Bear Glitters. And the glitter that we'll be doing when we do the cowhide and when we do the top part is going to be, okay, now you can see what I've got so far. Now I'm going to start layering it to make it darker. I'll do one more coat of this, and then I've got some espresso that I'll put on for the top coat. And I'm not trying to keep it straight. As I told you, I've got the other V that once I get the epoxy on it, then I'll put that on there to make the V distinguished and straight. And I'm not worried about getting it on the top of my cup up here, because that will come off very easy. Okay, now you can see it's starting to shape up. So let me put this up, and then we'll go with the espresso. If I can get it open. There we go. Now you can see the tooled leather starting to really show up. You can see it starting to shape up now. And that's the reason this one's going to have to be 3 parts, is because I'll do this, and then once it dries, then I'll spray it with clear coat, and I'll put epoxy on it. And once I put the epoxy on it, then I'll put the other V that I cut, that's just a plain V, over this one. And then I will paint the cup again. The top I'll probably do teal, and the bottom I will do white, because it's going to be a cowhide. And now this, the more you layer it, the darker it'll get. And that's what you're wanting. And the tooled leather, you want your layers to get darker and darker. And I know I have a tool leather pattern where I could have just cut a V that looked like tool leather, like on the one that we did the water slide on. But I wanted to see how it did this way for us to actually do the tooled leather with a decal. And we'll just keep layering it till it gets as dark as you want it to be. If y'all remember, we did a tool leather with the Amazing Grace, and it turned out really, really nice. Okay, now you can sort of see what that part of it looks like. I think I'm going to put one more coat on it, and then we'll go in and wipe it off. And I will go back and recut our water slide so we can do it again when we meet to do part 2. And that one, all we got to do is put the water slide on it, let it dry, and then put epoxy on it, and it will be done. We just got to make sure our water slide fits the next time. I would have made another one, but I just didn't have time to get it done before we met tonight. Okay, putting my brush over here in some alcohol. And I'm going to dry this just a little bit with my heat gun. And like I said, when I get through with this, then we will take the epoxy and put on it. Then I'll tape it off with this V, which will give us a good crisp clean lines, and then I'll paint over the edges. Top part I'll do teal, and the bottom part I'll do in white. Put white glitter on the bottom, and then I'll put on the top some teal glitter. And this we just want to just and this is very forgiving. If when you get through with it, if it doesn't have a look that you like, you can go back and put more alcohol ink on it. But the main thing you want to do is where you've got your cutout for your decal. That's where you want it to build up and make those lines show really good. Okay, now you can see the tooled leather part right there. And then what I'll do, I'll just go ahead and put epoxy over this whole thing, and I'll do that off camera. But then when we come back, we'll put the V that I cut that does not have any kind of a cutout in it. It's just plain vinyl, and I'll put that back over this to give us some distinct lines. And then from there, we'll spray the top part teal, and the bottom part we'll spray it white again. And then we're going to put the Don't Be Salty on the bottom, and then we're going to put this teal that is aqua green on the top. And then after that, then we're going to do some striping on it and get it fixed up. And then we will get the other one done. I'll get it recut so that we can put it on the next time we come. But now this, like I said, if it doesn't look like you want it to, you can go back and add more alcohol ink to it to make it darker. If you want it lighter, you just take more alcohol and put it on a paper towel and wipe it down more to make it lighter. It's just whichever you like better. That's what you need to do. But this, I will go ahead, once this dries, I'll spray seal it, and then I will put epoxy on it. So then in part 2, once we've got the epoxy on it, then we'll put the V back on it to give us our good V and our crisp lines. And then we'll do the top part in aqua, and we'll do the bottom part in white. And then we'll make our, with alcohol ink and the glitter, we're going to make our cow spots on it. See how that goes. So that's all we're going to be doing for part 1. Hey everybody, we're going to be doing part 2 of our split V tumbler. We're going to do it 2 ways. It will have glitter, it will have tooled leather, and it will have cowhide. So I've got one way we're going to do it. We tried it in part one and it didn't work. I cut the water slide just a tiny bit too small. So we're trying it again today. So we're going to start off with the water slide and then we'll go on into the one that we had to work at to do. So I'm going to turn you down, and while I am looking to see if I can get you on the screen, I want you to remember that when I'm doing a live, I do not answer questions. I go back after the live's over and I do the questions either right after it's over or tonight. Tonight is church night and I'll be cooking fried chicken for supper, so I may not get it done right after the live. It depends on how long it takes us to do it, so we'll go from there once we get started. And just remember, if somebody pops on that's new and they're asking questions, please let them know that I don't do questions when I'm doing the lives, that I go back and answer them after the live is over. So right now I'm still trying to find out if it's on, so let me see. I found one of my old ones. We are going to be doing a man, we need to turn that down, don't we? Okay, now let's see, give me just a minute to get it. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, now this is the water slide that we did. I did recut it, so maybe we can get it to work. And I've got me some hot water that I brought down in my little tumbler, so we're gonna get started on that. And I like my water pretty warm when I put my water slide in it. So we're gonna slide our water around. There we go. We'll give it just a minute. And this, I did a white base. I taped off the bottom and the top. I sanded it and cleaned it, and then I spray painted it white. And you can see it's got sort of dirty where we were working on it the other night, and it didn't work. So we're going to see if we can get it to work today. So, you know, you just have to keep trying and trying again. So we're going to be working on this one today. So let me flip it back over. And you want to make sure that you keep your cup that you're working on, keep it wet. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get our cup in there and we're going to get it wet. And we're going to start this one, and I'm going to slide it all the way down to the bottom. And we're going to see if we can get our water slide moving. Yeah, it's moving. And get it a little bit more. So we can get it to move. There we go. Okay. Here we go. Now, even if this does lap over a little bit on the top and bottom, I'm not going to worry about it, because once the water slide dries, then I'll take a really, really sharp X-Acto knife and trim it at that point. So now we're going to see if we can get this to pull a little bit better. We're going to work our bubbles out. And I'm trying to make sure I've sort of got a straight line as we pull it. Pushing our water and our bubbles out. Now this is going to be a really pretty tumbler, and a quick, easy tumbler once you get your sizing right. That does make a big difference. And we'll see. I don't want to speak too quick till we get around to the other side and make sure everything matches up. But it did match up before I wet it, so y'all cross your fingers. And I've got a real soft brush, and I'm not bearing down real hard, but I am brushing enough that I can sort of push the water out as we go. And on my computer, that blue looks more like a royal blue, but it's not. It is a teal blue. Okay. Hey. Now let me move that over. And we'll see if I can push this up just a little bit. And we'll pull this side down just a little bit. And I'm not pressing real hard, I'm just pressing up on one side and down on the other side. What I'm trying to do is get these lines lined up. Get that water on out of my way. Up pretty good, y'all. And as you can see, here at the top it is a little bit long, but I'm not going to worry about that. And at the bottom it's just a little bit long, but I'm not going to worry about any of that. I'm going to wait and let the water slide dry, and once it dries, then I'll go back and I will trim it with an X-Acto knife. I don't want to do it while it's wet, because if you've ever tried to trim a water slide when it's wet, it just wrinkles up, and we don't want that. I don't know why that looks royal blue on my screen, on my computer, but it does. And right here where that just barely overlapped, I may go back and trim that just a little bit too. I don't want to trim it much, but I may trim it just a little bit. Okay, I think we're going to leave that one now, and we'll go back, like I said, we'll go back and trim around the bottom and around the top where it's a little bit long around the top, and then on the back side where these meet, I might, you can see right in there a little overlap right in here. That's the two places that it shows up the most. Right here I'm not worried about that, but we'll see. I may trim it a little bit, and I may leave it like it is. If I put a name or something on it, I can put the name there or a quote there, and it'll cover that up and you'll never know it. Okay, so now we're going to set this one aside, and this is the one that we're going to go to now. This is the one that we did the tooled leather in the V. I went ahead and put this on so you can see I epoxied over it just like it was. You can see how messy it is. But what I'm going to do now right quick, I'm going to paint this part blue, teal, and this part white. And then we're going to put our glitter on, and I'll show you how we're going to do the cowhide once we get the glitter on. And now I'm going to take some plastic wrap, and I'm going to fix it so I can do the teal first without getting it all over my cup. take this and wrap it here, down through here, and on this side I'm going to let it overlap, and I mash it against the cup. And I'm stretching it up at the top because I want it to be tight. Got it on that side. Got it on this side, and I think on this side I may tape it just a little bit because I don't want that paint getting under there, and I'd rather be safe than sorry. And it doesn't take but just a little bit to go in and tape it. Now we'll do the other side, and then I'm going to jump up and paint the teal right quick. Okay, and y'all know what I do when I paint. I have and this one I've used quite a bit. It's got several layers of paint on it. But I put this around the top, so when I hold it and spray it around here, that way the paint doesn't get on the inside of my cup. So give me just a minute to get the gloves on, because I don't want paint all over me. I always put on a long sleeve shirt and gloves when I paint so it doesn't get all over my arms and on my clothes when I've got an apron. I've ruined enough over the years that I've learned. I've got one shirt that, oh, it looks horrible, that I used to paint with. You can see, I'll show you a little bit of it, where it's just got paint all over it. And so I'd rather be safe than sorry. So now we're going to do the teal. Give me just a minute. Let me shake up my paint. Okay, I got the teal done, and I'm going to dry it a little bit with the blow dryer. And I do see one spot that I'm going to have to do just a little bit more. There we go. Now I'll get this dry. Have to get it dry because then we're going to do the white. Set it down and take off my little shield that I use. Get my arm out of the shirt. Okay. Okay. And it's okay if it's getting all over the white, because remember the white is the V that we'll pull off later. So now we've got the teal, and I am going to dry it a little bit more, and then we'll block it off so that we can do the white. But we got to make sure that the teal paint is dry. And normally I would have done this off camera, but I did want you to see how I used the V to cover up the tooled leather that we did. And of course we're going to leave that on there while we do the glitter and while we're doing the paint. So now let's get some more. Take my gloves off. I can't get the saran wrap with them on, so we'll lay them down. Okay. Okay. Get some tape, and I'll have to be more careful doing this side just in case the other side is not good and dry. So what I'm doing, I'm taking my saran wrap and I'm laying some tape on it so part of it sticks and part of it doesn't. And then I'm gonna cover up this, and I don't want it to, make sure it feels dry. And normally I would wait for this to dry longer, but we're in a hurry, right? So now you can see where I just folded that over on that side. And I'm going to put some tape down the other side right quick. And then we'll be ready to paint the white. And cross our fingers that the teal doesn't mess up. And I'm trying to be very careful with the teal, not to press on it hard or anything. I'm putting my pressure where I'm going to be doing the white. Get that paint stuck down, tape stuck down. Okay, now we'll put our shield back on, and I'll put my gloves back on. And remember, any questions that you've got, we'll go back and answer those questions after the live is over. But I wanted to get it to where we could get the glitter done today. Now I'm spraying the white. Got a new can of white, so I'm having to shake it really, really good. Okay, now we got the white. Let me dry it a little bit with our heat gun. Then once I get all this off, we'll dry it a little bit more. Now let's see if we can get this off. Okay. Ta-da! We did it! Okay. Now I'm going to dry it a little bit more, and then we'll put our glitter on. We're going to be using Don't Be Salty by Black Bear's Glitter, and Aquamarine by Black Bear Glitters. And the tumblers that I'm using, both of them, are the 20-ounce straight skinny from Southern Palmetto stainless steel tumblers. So now we've got that done. Let me dry it a little bit more. going to put, this time I'm going to use Mod Podge, because with the Mod Podge I can dry it a little bit faster, and because once I get the glitter on there, I can hit it with the heat gun and dry it a little bit faster. So, and I'm brushing really careful over where the V vinyl is. That's cut out of vinyl. I cut it the same size as I cut the one where I did the tooled leather. And we may have to put 2 coats of glitter. We'll see how it goes. And I did not sand this. It had some little divots in it, but I did not sand it. So we're going to see if the glitter will cover it up. I think it will. Okay. Now this is our Aqua green. Beautiful glitter. Okay. That looks like it covered pretty good. It's that right there in that little tip. You can see where I put some more glue on it. And I see another spot right up here where I'm putting a little bit more glue on it. Okay, right there, let me see that. I don't know if it needs more glue or not, but we'll see. I think it's probably going to have another coat, especially in some spots. I've got a few spots that sort of look slicky, and I'm thinking it's probably where I used the heat gun to dry the paint, and it was still hot when I put the Mod Podge on there, so it made it dried the Mod Podge. So we'll go back and fix that, but we're going to work on the white. Then we'll come back to this. And if you hear that noise, that's cups and pins turning. Okay, and I am going to set that plate over here, and I'm going to get a new one because I do not want to contaminate my white. And I'm going to grab me another brush, because that brush, as you can see, I got glitter on it, so I'm going to put it in my water for right now. Now we're going to take and we're going to put our, we dust it off, we're going to put our white glitter on. And right now I'm dusting off this Aqua green. Right there, for some reason you can see it's not wanting to come off. Guess the paint was still a little bit wet there. And I'm just putting the Mod Podge on now. Putting it on pretty heavy to begin with because it dries so fast. And then I'll go back and smooth out any ridges that we've got, because we don't want ridges under our glitter if we can help it. Okay. Now we'll go back and smooth out the Mod Podge. Don't want any lines in it if you can help it. So when you brush it, you have to do it very light-handed. I'm just basically letting my brush at this point just lay on there. Okay, and I think that's got it. So now we're going to use our Don't Be Salty. And this is the side that we're going to put our, make it look like cowhide. And I'll show you the cup. I've shown it to you before that I use as my guinea pig cup. Anything I'm going to do, I sort of play with it on that cup and try it before I do it to sort of see how it's going to turn out. So now let's put this back in our bottle, and then we'll got a few other places that we didn't get to around this side. Okay, put this back in our jar, and then I'm gonna bump it really good. Then we'll dry it with the blow dryer. Not blow dryer, heat gun. Okay, let me show you this cup while that's drying just a little bit. Now this is the one that's my guinea pig cup. I've tried all kinds of stuff on it, but this is where I tried doing my cowhide. And this is where I dropped in, this is the espresso with the latte, and this is teak wood with the latte. So I've decided to go with the teak wood and the latte. But when you put it on, it spreads out and it looks like spots on a cow. Now this is where I put on a holographic chunky glitter and just dropped it on there just to see what it would do, and it does not work well with that. It works better with a fine glitter rather than a chunky glitter. You can see how it looks on there. It just didn't look pretty at all. But now this, I was real pleased with how this turned out. So I am going to get my cup over here, and I'm going to hit it with the blow dryer to dry that Mod Podge. I keep saying blow dryer. I was a hairdresser for 12 years. So blow dryer is something that's just in my brain, I guess. Okay. Now, something that you have to do, I found out, when you're working with this alcohol ink, you have to be really careful because it will run. And for some reason, some run seemingly more than others. So you have to barely touch it. I'm putting on gloves now so I won't get ink all over me. Okay, now what we're going to go with the teak wood first. And the spot that I showed you, that right here you can see a little bit of the blue through it. That's what we're going to work on first. So I'm just going to touch it, and you can see how it spreads out when you touch it. And I want to make sure I get that spot good, because I want to cover up that blue that was in there. Okay, and then I'm going to do one up here. We'll do one right here. And we'll do us a pretty good size one right here. My daughter was here a few weeks ago, and she went to the farm with Alan and made some pictures of cows, and she made all the pictures just beautiful of one of the calves. And I'm going to take it, and where everybody's doing the cow heads, that's going to be an original, because I'm going to use it. It is such a good picture. But you can see how this just spreads out. See how it works. Okay, that's all I'm going to do right now till we see how it's going to do when we put the latte on there. Okay, now let's start right here and right at the edge. Now this latte is, that's just to soften it around the edges. And we won't do it on the whole thing, just parts of it. Uh-oh, that, see how it really spreads if you get too much? I'll go back and drop a little bit of the dark on that. Sometimes it really comes out, and then sometimes it's just barely coming out. That's okay too. I think it may be because it's about empty. But I love the way that just adds to each spot, putting just a little bit of a different color in there with it. I still see it in there. I don't know why. Sometimes it really comes out and sometimes it don't. just about done. Okay. I think we've got all of that one. Now let me see if I do need to go back and touch some up. See what I think about it. Yeah, I think I will go back in just a few places where there's a little more of the light than I want it to be. Right there is a little bit more than I want it to be. So, and you know, this is like when you're doing a wood grain. The more layers you put on, the darker it's going to get. And you can see that where I'm adding this, where the spots are a little bit lighter than I wanted them to be. I think I'm going to leave that. That looks pretty good. Pretty good. Now I'm going to hit that with the heat gun, and then we're going to pull the tape. And any spots on the blue, if I feel like I need to go back and touch them up, then I'll touch them up after everything's fully dried. So, taking my gloves off now. Let's see if we can get a hold of this tape. Saw it interrupted just a little bit. I don't know if it's been doing that, because right then's the first time that I looked at it, folks. So what I'm doing now is right here at the top where this was overlapped, and see where I'm pulling it apart, and that way I can pull one side down. And I used the, I didn't use the 651. I used the removable vinyl because I did not want to use the 651. Okay. Now, what I'll do when this dries good, I'll put a coat of epoxy on it, and then when we come back for part 3, then is when we are going to put our tape around the V on both sides. But that made it fairly easy to do it that way. So you can see, if you think that looks like cowhide, it looks a little different than the other one. Compare them side by side. This one was a lot easier, but this one's it's the basic same look, but it does look different. So there you can see them side by side. And like I said, what I'll do now with this one, once all this is good and dry, I'll seal it. I'll brush off the glitter. I'll take my brush and I'll brush off any of this excess glitter. And at that point, then I will put epoxy on it. And then when we come back, we'll take some of our trim tape and we'll trim it around the V's, down around the cowhide part and up around the teal part. So that's all we've got today, folks. So y'all have a great rest of the evening, and I'm going to go upstairs and cook some fried chicken. So that's sort of southern, right? But that's what Papa said he wanted for supper, so we're going to have fried chicken before we go to church. So y'all have a great rest of the day. And hey, everybody, we are going to finish our 2 V-split tumblers tonight. And we started them with... This is going to be part 3, and I see that the internet's messing up with us tonight. It keeps cutting on and off, so just bear with me, and we'll continue and try to get it in. If when I see it pause, I'll try to go back and repeat myself so you won't miss anything. So I am going to turn you down, and I'm going to see if I can get you up on the screen, and then I'll bring you up to date to where we are now, and then we'll go forward and finish our tumbler. So I'm going to turn you down, and if I can get it to pull up, then I can sort of tell when it cuts off. I can't see it with my phone doing the recording because it's upside down, so we'll see if we can get it to go. So I'm trying to get it to pull up now, so give me just a few minutes. And remember, when I do a live, I don't answer questions during the live. I go back when the live's over, and any comments. And if I don't get them done tonight, then I will do them tomorrow and get you some answers. Okay, let's see if we can get it now. Looks like that's showing. No, it's not pulling up right now. Give me just a few more minutes and we'll check on it again. What I'll do, I'll go ahead and start telling you about this one, and then we'll give it a few minutes because of the delay. Now this is the one that we did with a complete water slide, and what I've done, I've started taping off because I'm gonna put some bling. These just had just the water slide, and what I'm doing, I'm putting tape just enough to cover up this black line, but this time I'm going to use the coarse, and we're going to put it in here just to give us a little bit of bling on it before we put our epoxy on. So I got it all taped up except for this one part right here, and I was going to show you how I'm going to do that, and we'll do this tape on this one and bling it out. So we'll start with this one. Let me see if I can get you pulled up to make sure we got everything where you can see it. So give me just a minute to go back and see if we can get it to pull up here. Sometimes it pops right up, and then sometimes it just doesn't come up at all. So, and it's still not pulling it up. So let me go out of the group and then come back in and see if maybe that will fix it and get it. I've been busy today. I've been mailing and had lunch with my sisters, and then tried to get some more things done as far as getting ready for tonight. So now I'll have to scroll down and find one of my lives, and then you click on my name, and once you click on my name up, and they always show up in the order of the last one first. So like this one with 3 parts, when you go back and look for it that way, it'll show part 3, part 2, and then part 1, and that's just the way it shows up on the screen. I don't want to delay any longer, so what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and go for it. It looks like, the best I can tell, it's on the screen. So this, my tape, I always put a corner back so that it's easy for me to find the end. This electrical tape is really hard to find the end on it when you got old eyes like I do. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut it a little so that when I put this in here, and like I said, I'm doing it a bit of that black, making sure the black's covered, so when I get the glitter on it and I pull the tape off, then that black is still going to show. Just making sure that I cover that black, and I don't want it to come down on the silver that much. Okay, now I'm going to cut this off up here, just overlaps, making sure I still got it where you can see it, or trying to. And remember, we're just barely putting it right so that black line's covered up. See where it is, and what I'm going to do now, I'm trying to cut it so that this fits right over the V. So I'll go back and adjust it. And you just want to do it just a little bit at a time until you find it so that it's just right. And I think we got right there. Got it. And then you want to make sure that you got this down. This one aside until we get the other one the tape on it, and then we'll go back and glitter them both at the same time. But now what I did with this one, I prepped the cup, I taped off the top and the bottom, and I white, and then I put the water slide on it. And then I had to put 2 coats of epoxy on it. So I put 2 coats of epoxy on it there. It would be smooth when we put the glitter on there. So that's where we are now with that one. And now this one, we're ready to start putting our tape on it. And this one, I had to go back and put 2 coats on it because I wanted this real smooth, bumps or bulges or the glitter showing through or anything on it. So that's the reason I put 2 on there, to make sure it was good and smooth. Now we're gonna go with our, we got this tiny nail tape. This is tape that I got at Sally's Beauty Supply, and it's it's such a tiny, and that way how tiny it is or not. And like I said, we'll adjust it afterwards. Now this, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try to put it right down the middle of this line right here of the glitter, and that's what I'm looking at doing. And then I'll trim it up at the top. And I'm trying to pull that off. I got it stuck on the cup. Okay. Now I'm trying to keep it straight, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to let it overlap right here. And then I've got a good clean X-Acto knife that's sharp, and I'm going to cut that in a V. And I'm cutting it just a hair long, so when I put the other one on, then we can go from there. And I'm going to lay this piece back down because I don't want to have to piece it. I want it to all be one size. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. And as you can see, I'm letting it go over the silver here. I want it to where it's going to be half and half over the glitter and over the tooled leather. Okay. Okay, now you can see where it's overlapped here. Now what I'm going to do, we're going to cut it right here to get that line straight, and then we'll cut it that way. Cutting it right. Look out that little tiny piece. Just a little tiny piece right there. And I think, matter of fact, it stuck to the... Let me see. Okay. Now we're going to lay that back down. Now we're going to cut it. The piece is still under there. Go back and look again. I think it's maybe sticking to... Can't get it where I can see it real good, y'all. Excuse me, sir. I don't like the way it's looking, y'all. Give me just a minute to mess with it. I think what I'm going to do is pull this from there. And we'll trim it from the other side. And we're going to do the outside. And we're going to do it, let it up. And remember, well, that's where we are right now. Put that back down on our paper. Then we're going to do the other side. We're going to start at the top. Trying to put it half and half. And you want to pull on your vinyl. This is vinyl that I cut with my cut. And this right here has got to go up a little bit. Got it a little bit off of my line between my glitter and my tooled leather. And we're going to let these two overlap. Gonna cut it here, this side up. And I hope it's not cutting off too much, y'all. Just after the live's over. Where they meet, and then right here we're going to cut this one in a V. Little pieces of. Okay, now we're going to trim it here at the top, and I'm going to there we go. Trim it right around where the stainless is. Sticking good, but I did use 651, and it does stick a lot better than the other. Okay. Little pieces out of my way because I don't want them getting on my cup later. Okay. Right here, I got to trim it. And we're going to pick it up. And we got to then take out what I trimmed off. That piece out. Okay. So now we've got the blacks, the real tedious part. Gonna take this tiny, tiny nail tape. And let's see if we can find the end. Should be right here. I see the little red dot. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. Well, that was the red dot, but now it's not coming up. We may have to just go in and make us an... There we go. guess that will do. So let me get that out of the way. See how tiny it is? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure me one that's just, and we're going to go right on the outside of that black. Let me make sure I got it in here where you can see it, hopefully. Tiny stuff, y'all. Down here, I'm going to move it in just a hair. And this, you can't pull it real tight, because if you do, you'll break it. And it is actual nail tape. Okay. Now you can see where I've got that down the side. And this part up here, I'm going to go ahead and just going to lay it up there right quick to sort of measure what we're going to need. It's easier to work with if you go ahead and snip it off. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to snip it right in the V. There we go. Turn it up. And I'll just leave that for right now. And now we're going to go the other side. And I'm going to put it on the inside. Just lay it there and sort of measure what we're going to need. Start it at the top and get it lined up. Then we'll go down at the bottom and start straightening it out. Now, okay, now we've got that one done. Now we're going to go the outside. See if we can find it. It's so fine, y'all. If it lays down, it's up. We'll do like we did before. We'll just go in and see if we can find the edge. All right. It's really fine. My goodness. Now we're just going to lay it here and just get us some on there and snip it. We'll go back to that in a minute. Going back down, getting the end. Except to come undone. It right at the edge of the black. This is real tedious to work with, to try to keep from breaking it. But it makes for a beautiful tumbler when you're done. Taking it right. And then we'll snip it. Let's do it that way. And now we're going to take it to the inside here to get the sticky side down. Okay. And then again, we're keeping it right at the outside of our black. And I'm going to snip it off, but I'm leaving some of it hanging over this time, y'all. That way it won't be quite as hard to deal with. Okay. Now we're going to go to the inside. Getting it started right up against that one. Keeping it right at the edge of the black. And now what we're going to do, we're going to cut this one on the inside right here. Because we need it out of our way. Sticking to my finger. Okay. Now we got these two to cross over. Make sure it's straight. Gonna cut it at the V. Now we'll bring this one down and cut it at the V. See if that cut. Sure did. Okay. I'm going to go back and press it down good. Now I'm going to cut these at the top. Get them out of my way. And we're cutting them right at our stainless steel. You can see how tiny it is, how it sticks to your hand. Okay. Now we're going to cut this one on this side. Right at the stainless steel. Get it out of the way. And this one we're going to cut it up in our V. Got it out of the way. Now we've got 2 more to do. Okay. Keeping it right at the edge of the black. Right at the edge, and I hope it's not pausing, y'all. I'm sorry if it is, because I certainly cannot see. I never did get it to pull up on the screen. And I'm going to cut it right at the edge. Okay, see if I can get it off my fingers. It just sticks like crazy. Because I can't work on the other till I get all that off of my hand. And pull that one back up. Okay. Now, one to go here. And I'm going to let it hang over to begin with like we did before. And I'm trying to keep it right on the edge of the black. And leaving enough to hold on to. And cut that right at our V. Now making sure I got it pressed down all the way around. And right here I need to cut this one. Okay. And now this one up here. And it's sticking to my finger. Okay, so now you can see we've got those. Now we're going to go back and we're going to put one more silver, and we're going to put it right in the middle if we can. That's the goal. So let's see if we can do it. And I'm going to go ahead and cut it off because it's easier to work with, remember. And I'm going to take the sticky side. as best we can, we're going to try to keep it in the middle. And we're just having to sort of eyeball it. So it may not be perfect, but we'll see what we do with it. Okay. Now that looks pretty close. I'm going to go ahead and trim this at the top so I'll have that out of the way. Now I'm going to leave this one lapped over here, and I'm going to do the other side. Get it in the middle, and then I'm going to pull some out. Easier to work with when you get the roll out of your way. Okay. Now we're just sort of gonna eyeball it. See if we can get it down the middle. Trim it at the top. Pull that out of our way. I'm sticking it all over my table. Okay, you can see where we've got it overlapped here. And I'm just going to cut one side and get it pressed down. That's off just a little bit, so okay. One down, one to go. Okay, I think that does sort of spruce it up just a little bit to put that extra one down the middle. So now let's flip it around. And we're going to start down here at the middle. And press it down just enough that I can sort of measure it out and cut it off. Now let's see if we can eyeball it. Okay. And I'm not happy with that right there. So I'm going to pull this row right here up in just a few minutes, because right there it's just a little bit meeting. I don't know if you can see it, but it's bugging me. So I will go back and fix that. Get that pressed down. Okay. Now we're going to go back here and overlap it. Try to eyeball it and get it in the middle best you can. Pulling the wrong one. Okay, here we go. See a spot that's not as straight as I want it, so I'm going to go back again. Okay. Now I'm going to snip that one right there. It won't come off my thumb, y'all. Okay. Now we're going to snip this one right here. And we're going to do this one on the inside. And then we're going to do this one on the outside. Now that's the one that I wanted to redo. This one right here, remember? It's not going in as far as I want it to, so I'm going to redo it. Before we get epoxy on it, we can make corrections, but after we get the epoxy on it, we cannot. So that's what we're doing now. Taking that one all the way up in there. Laying it back down. Right on the outside of the black. And everything's so shiny it's hard to see. Uh-oh. Dropped my knife. I was afraid I bent the edge of it, but I didn't. So now you can see where I've got that. Now I'm going to snip it again. Now I'm going to look at it, y'all, make sure it looks like I want it to, while I can make some changes if I need to. See that little wave right there? I want to fix that. Let me see, which end would it be better to go with? I think maybe this end. And all I'm doing is just pulling it up to where that spot is, where that wave is that I don't like. Right there. Mashing it back down. And that did stretch it, so I'll have to cut it again now. But like I said, you can fix it before you get epoxy on it, but you can't afterwards. So now I'm going to snip that again. Okay, I think we got it now. So now what we're going to do, we're going to mix some epoxy, and let me put this up, and I think I'm going to turn it down just a little bit if I can, so the next time I use it, it's going to be easier to get a hold of. See if I can. Sticking to my fingernail now. Okay, we got a little rough spot on it, so that'll make it easier to find. Now we got that out of our way. And now let's mix our epoxy. And I'm going to go ahead and do enough for both cups. So I'm going to do a full tablespoon of A and a full tablespoon of B. And while we're doing this, let me try one more time to see if I can get it pulled up. Give me just a shake, and that way I can sort of tell if it's been cutting on and off maybe. And I know when I go back and read the comments that I'll be able to tell then if it has been. And we'll see. Y'all, it just doesn't look like it's going to pull up. It's not. So anyway, we're going to go back, and now we're going to do 1 tablespoon of A, which normally for a 20 ounce I would do a half a tablespoon of A and a half a tablespoon of B. But since I'm doing 2 20-ounce cups, I'm going to go ahead and do a full tablespoon, and that'll give us what we need for both cups. And we can get that glitter on the one that we're going to put the AG47 on. Now this is A. And I use Amazing Clearcast, the Alumilite. It's all I've ever used. I did get a free sample in something that I ordered, so I'm going to try. It's CC DIY, I think, the Counterculture. I will try that sample, but I decided not to try it tonight because I've never used it before, and I'd rather on these two make sure I'm using something that I know works for me. And most epoxy is you got to learn which works best for your craft area, the temperature of your room, the humidity in your room. So many things that can affect your epoxy and how it dries and how it cures and how fast it dries and cures. So let me clean off my spoon, and then we're going to put a little bit of our Casting Craft transparent dye in the blue, because I don't want it turning yellow. I want it to keep the color of the tumbler to stay its true color. So I'm going to use just a little bit. And as you can see, that's all I used for the 2 cups. And now we'll set our timer. And for this much epoxy, I'll stir it for 4 minutes. And I sure do wish I could see if there's any questions up there so that we could see if I could get you some answers. I'm trying one more time as we're looking to see if it's pulled up yet. But it's not. So I'm sorry, y'all. I can't see. I can see there's some questions there when I sort of turn upside down to look at my excuse me, to look at my phone. But I cannot see that it is there, so we'll stir this a full 4 minutes, and then we will pull the tape as soon as we do the glitter and as soon as we do the epoxy on the one that we actually put glitter on, that's not the water slide. And after we stir this, we'll have to let it set just a little bit so that it will, bubbles come out of it. But I hope everybody's been working. We got Mother's Day coming up, so we need to get some ready to sell. I always like to have quite a few of ready to ship on Mother's Day and Father's Day. And 1 or 2 like for Easter. Don't sell a lot just especially for Easter. I just delivered 6 today and 5 pins today. And would you believe that I forgot to make photos of the 6 tumblers? I could just kick myself. But they turned out really pretty. There was you heard me talk about I had 2 to do with a sunset beach with glitter, and then 2 to do with just a regular beach tumbler with no glitter. And then I had 2 to do that were a sunset that did not have water, but it was just the yellow and the pink and the orange colors ombre'd together that turned out really pretty. And I had already done 1 like that, and then that got me the 2 orders for 2 more like it. So let's see how much we got just a little bit to go still. but I hadn't made up my mind what we're going to do next week. I have to think about it. I got some double-sided 8.5 by 11 vinyl that's double stick on both sides. So what I'm thinking about doing is doing one of the actual tangram styles in different colors. Hadn't decided what colors yet, so that may be what we do. And do it that way we don't have to use glue or epoxy or anything. It's just, it goes ahead and cuts every piece, and you just pull the pieces of vinyl off. And it's double-faced, like the double-faced tape, so that way the glitter sticks to the tape that's on it for the actual double-faced vinyl. So we'll see how that goes. Like I said, I'm thinking that may be what I do, but I'm not sure. Okay, that's our time. So now we'll let this set just a little bit. I may go ahead and do the glitter because it won't matter. I'm going to put it on with a brush, the epoxy, so that we can get the glitter on. We won't be able to epoxy that cup tonight, but we can go ahead and get everything else on. And I did right there, come up, y'all. I may have to spray this with a little touch of okay, for some reason it's drawing up. All of our V's where I had them meeting, they're not meeting anymore. That one I'm going to have to take off. It drew up a good 1/8 of an inch. May have stretched it just a hair too much. Go back and snip this. Okay, now next meeting. Putting it back on again, y'all. Excuse me, I don't know what's wrong. Now, snip it one more time. I think I probably stretched it a little bit too much. Okay. I think I may hit that a little bit with the heat gun and see if it seals it a little bit better. Now I'm rubbing it down in all directions. Okay, we'll let that set while we go back to this one. And I'm going to take a brush Let me see. I think I'm going to use this one. See the size of it. Dip that in the epoxy. And I'm going to brush it where I'm going to put the glitter. And you want to put the glitter, the epoxy on. Same way you would if you were doing the epoxy method. And after we get the glitter on, then we'll pull our tape. And like I said, I never got it to pull up on my computer, so I'm just hoping that it hasn't gone completely off. Okay. And I've got some acetone to put my brush in, where I used the epoxy on it. And now I'm going to get a plate to catch our glitter. If I can get to it. Here we go. And this one hasn't been opened, so I'll have to pull the top out of it. This one's brand new. And I've used, as you know, I use AG47 all the time. But with, this is the first time that I've used it in the course. And this one we'll have to let this dry before I can put epoxy on it. But at least we'll be able tonight to sort of see how it's actually going to look. Because we will go ahead and pull the tape. And I'm just patting that down. I'm sure you can hear what I'm doing. Okay. Get this back in the jar. Now, let's see if we can pull some of this tape. And I'm going to hold it over my trash can, y'all, so that the glitter won't go everywhere. But we wanted to do it just so we could have a little bit of bling on this one too. So that's the reason that I wanted to add the glitter in these spots. So right now I'm trying to get the electrical tape peeled up. Okay, you can see how that looks right there. It's got a little bit of sticky on the tape, but that we'll get that off with alcohol once everything dries. And I'm trying to see where it overlaps. Okay, and then we got this bottom one off. Okay, we got one more roll off. Now we're going to do this center part. Let's see, where's the best place to start it? Got that one off. Okay, now you can see that one. So what we'll do now, we'll let that dry, and once that dries, then I'll brush any excess off, and if I do see any spots that I need to touch up, at that point I'll touch it up before I do the epoxy. Right now this needs brushing off right here. It's not sticking, but it'll have to be brushed off, so I'm not going to mess with it while we're waiting for that to dry. But I think that added just enough bling to really make it pop. So that's all we're going to do on that one for right now. And let me get some of this glitter off my hand, and then we'll look at the other one and see if that's still drawing up. Get the glitter out of the way. Okay, now let's look at it and see if our it looks like it's okay, so I am going to go ahead and put the epoxy on it. So we'll see what it does. Now when I do these, I push this is the small football, and I push it all the way down in there. You can keep working with it and it'll go all the way down in there. I don't leave it sticking out because I don't like anything around the rim here in any of my cups that's going to get epoxy on them. So let me get that out of the way and get our turner over here. And I'm not going to tape up the top on this one because I want the epoxy to go over where we put this tape to seal it good. And I'm looking at it as it's turning to make sure if the tape's down. Looking at it at an angle. Making sure all these V's are taped down. And they look like they are. Now I'm going to hit this epoxy with my heat gun. Get rid of some of these bubbles. And now when I put this on, I'm going to be real careful with the tape because I want to go in the direction of the tape. I don't want to go against it till we get a good coat on it where it slides easy. You can see I'm sort of following the tape. Making sure I go with the flow. Make sure we get it on there without disturbing the tape if possible, because you know how any decal is. If it starts sticking up, then you have a problem with it. Get this around the bottom. And I'm just barely touching it with my hand, because like I said, I don't want to disturb the tape that I've put on there. Now up here where there's not any tape, I can manhandle it like usual. Make sure I got it all around the top. And I just sort of let my hand roll across the top. Uh-oh, I see a piece of tape sticking up. But no worry, if I don't get it to lay down, I'll just pull it off and put it back on by itself after this epoxy dries. And then we'll put another coat of epoxy on it, because it'll have to have another coat anyway. I've just got to decide what decal I'm going to put on it. Now I think I've got it coated pretty good. Going back around making sure. Okay. Now let me set that aside. I'm going to hit it with a torch. Get any bubbles out. And now see right in there, that's where that has come up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and I'm just going to go ahead and pull that piece off. And then what I'll do, after this epoxy dries, then I'll put that stripe on there again. Okay, right here. See where that one came off? And I'm just going to take it completely off. And that way it's out of our way. And then we'll go back. We'll go back when we put the second coat of epoxy, or the next coat. And we'll put that one stripe back on there. But that looks pretty good other than that. The epoxy looks like it's leveling out good. And I'm going to go ahead and pull the tape. I always pull my tape pretty much right away. Any of you that watch my lives, you know that. And let me see, I think you can see where I pulled it down here off the end. And where the tape overlaps, usually there's a little bit of line. And all I do is just take a baby wipe and wipe that off. Now this will turn until in the morning, and then tomorrow I'll go in and put that piece of tape back on, and then I'll decide what decal I'm going to put on there, and then I'll show you the finished product once I put that piece back on and actually then put a decal on it. But that's our two different tumblers with the same basic look. Sort of say this one was done with a water slide, a complete water slide, full water slide. And then this one, we went back and we did the glitter. And like I said, once this dries, I'll brush off any excess. And then if I need to touch up some places on it, I will. And then I'll put epoxy on it. Hey y'all, I've got the two tumblers that we did for the V-split with the tulle dye and the glitter complete. This one is the one that we did everything from scratch, and this one says, for the quote on it, Mom Fuel. So this will be a good one for Mother's Day, and it is for sale. And then this is the one that we did, and we did the complete water slide wrap. And I did go back, and where the V's are, I added some AG 47 in the course just to give it a little bit more bling. And then for the quote on this one, it's Best Mom Ever. And I did do an overlay with black in the back and silver in the front. And on this one I did an overlay too, and I did it with silver in the back and teal on the front. So these are the two that we finished for the V-split, one with a water slide and one with everything from scratch. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Bye now.